The gout usually takes place in the big toe, Greg.
Yeah, I thought I knew it was foot related, but my great toenails fight off gout. Gout can't get in because I've got like 2 shields, armor. Get out of here, gout. I ain't getting past those toenails. I'll tell you that.
I'm going to hide in your big toenail if I need to.
You could do that.
Thank you.
Mike saw them at golf. They're as long as they've ever been.
Am I supposed to cut it today?
That is trash talk. That is trash talk right there from Greg Cody. If you don't know what they were talking about, we've got a grid of death punishment being paid today, and it's an unpleasant one. Greg Cody's big toenail. It's been cut around here before.
By me.
It's unpleasant. It's a thing that Stugotz continues to pick as a punishment. And go ahead and describe the state of the nail that was revealed to all while you guys were playing golf. And the audience is dying to know about this majestic golf shot of yours that Stugotz has claimed is the best golf shot he's ever seen in the history of a stick hitting ball.
I had to apologize to Mike Ryan this morning because until Greg hit that shot on Friday, and we'll get to it in a second, we'll get to your toenail in a second, Mike Ryan had the best golf shot I have ever seen. He has been replaced by you, just so you know. You bounced out Tom Watson 82 out of the sand, U.S. Open.
Wow.
Yes, he is no longer in my top 5.
Somebody said that wasn't out of the sand. I don't remember. It was so long ago that you've got it wrong, that your list, that you don't actually have this correct.
It was a chip out of the sand, either 82 U.S. Open or 82 British Open. I will look it up right now.
Okay, but are you sure it's the sand? Because I think because you're a historian on these things. But Greg, tell me about your shot. Mike Ryan, do you have any embellishments to ask? Do you agree with Stugotz that this shot of Greg Cody's was amazing because of the stakes, because of everything else?
It's certainly the greatest shot I've ever seen in person. And quite possibly the shot he had before that was one of the worst I've ever seen in person. Right. But it just kept going and going, and he was actually quite good on Friday, getting himself out of trouble. But this shot, this is the first time I've ever played with Greg. In my mind, Greg is an excellent golfer just because of this shot that I saw. It stays with you.
Well, tell me about it. Please, you're dying to do so. We'll get you. This is what you do. You got to throw Mike Evans the ball early in the game, okay? You got to give him something.
All right, I stand corrected. It was out of the very deep rough. 82 U.S. Open, sandwiched in between 2 sand traps. My apologies.
So memorable in your top 5.
Makes it even better.
Yep.
It was the best shot of my life. I mean, I've been playing golf for 40 years and longer, and it was the best shot of my life. It was about 130 yards, which is like a short par 3. I've played hundreds of par 3s, never gotten a hole in one, so this was totally unexpected. It wasn't a gorgeous shot because I probably used, knowing I don't hit long, I probably used an 8-iron or even a soft 7, meaning to loft it, and I didn't. It was more of a line drive. I mishit it.
I asked you what club you were using because we were playing. It was like a best ball format, so I had to hit the same shot. I asked you what club. You said you had an 8-iron in your hand.
Okay,
but you were also hammered. I mean,
well,
this is. They said you were 4 Bloody Marys in. Not surprising at all.
They ran up a hill because the putting green was elevated some. So I have no idea how we did it. It just kept going.
Did you see it roll in? Could you tell from where you were that it had gone in the hole?
No, it was so far away. The first evidence I had was Christopher raising his arms.
Let me paint the picture. Christopher is on the green, and he's putting for birdie. So Chris has stuck it really, really close. So he is sitting there, and he is watching the shot. The only indication we had that this shot had a chance of going in was Chris's reaction to the shot. The shot never left the ground, Dan. Okay, an 8-iron's supposed to go very high in the air. Yes. You're supposed to bounce it 5 feet from the cup, and then you hope it finds its way into the hole or close to the
bounces
hole.
In. This was a rocket ship. He just a line drive.
He was like 100. He was like 150-yard bump and run.
Yeah, it was the best worst shot in the history of golf.
So it's just a clothesline right into the hole. You don't know if your son, perhaps, as you're coughing all over the course and he roots for his father, made the whole thing up. because you guys can't see him. You just saw his arms come up celebrating it.
Now, I could see Greg couldn't. Again, he was 3 Bloody Marys in. He had the 4th in hand. Okay.
Stugotz kept telling Greg to aim for the hole in the center.
Yeah.
Just aim for the middle one, Greg.
So I could see the ball. I saw it rolling up to the green. I saw Chris starting to celebrate or at least get nervous because Chris did not want it to go in. If it went in, it halves the hole. And then I saw the ball disappear. Greg did not see that. So once the ball disappeared, I knew it went in the hole. I still can't believe it until this day because it curved, Mike, around the little sand trap. I still can't believe it, though.
It was just a few days ago,
it's
though.
Unbelievable.
That is not how you use until this day.
Listen, you are totally right. Okay.
Right. Stugotz, I think you, my teammate that day, I think you told me, don't even take the shot. Why bother?
I did. I told, and you said I got it.
What a great feeling. What a great feeling that Mike Ryan goes out there and Greg Cody wearing the same shirt he wears every time I see him in a golf video. It's his golf shirt. The neon green golf shirt is out there on the golf course on the prowl between coughs. And from what you guys said yesterday, it was a key moment. It wasn't just that he made the shot. He made a shot at a necessary time to swing the result. Is it your greatest athletic achievement?
Other than my 50-yard field goal, obviously. But in this case, what I absolutely love about golf is that I am a guy in his 60s who shoots in his 90s, and for one glorious moment, I hit a golf shot that the best players who ever played the game would be absolutely thrilled with.
But the best players to ever play the game would have put that thing 100 yards in the air. It would have landed 2 feet from the hole. You grounded it up there.
I know, but don't ruin my buzz. It still went in the hole. I want a song about this golf shot.
Sounds like he's 80 years old. I know he's not proud of how he dresses. In an 80s shirt and a 70s haircut. And on the show he's like knuckleball, curveball. I can hit a home run, Kershaw, Verlander. Don't matter who is throwing, I don't care. I'll hit them 400 feet in air. And then Greg Cody's like, I can take D, Wade and Bosch on the double team. Find the open man, and even if they're guarding me, I don't care. I'm draining threes from everywhere. And I can kick field goals, like my idol Fuad Revis. I'll hit from 50 yards at least, even though I'm missing PATs. I'm good enough to place wagers. And win the money from Batard, and then I think I just pulled my quad.
Now, I do have an update on Mike Ryan because until Greg hit that shot, Mike Ryan had the single greatest golf shot I have ever seen. 2019, Devil's Isle, the 11th hole, Parkland Golf and Country Club. Mike hit the same club.
How far was it from the hole?
120 yards.
No, but how far?
Oh, 4 inches.
You forgot how you tell this story. Okay.
Stuck it 4 inches from the hole with a driver. Now, to Mike's credit, I know he's disappointed that he has the second greatest shot in golf history. Mike got a lot better. Mike has gotten a lot better since the last time I played with him. He took out the driver again on Devil's Isle 11, Parkland Golf and Country Club, 120 yards out. He took out the driver and he drove it in the drink. I mean, he
sailed it over, Dan.
He hit he hit a driver the way you're supposed to hit a driver.
It just dawned on me that
Right
back in it dawns on me that in 2019
you'll take
it's a bit
it
of
though,
a
right?
joke
I was thrilled for
to
him.
hit it with a driver on that hole.
When you are a novice though golfer, I'm going to say this because I was wondering when Stugotz was saying it, would every golfer, not amateur guy, but would every golfer playing take the shot that he had, even if it wasn't like a beautiful shot and it was just clearly a screaming mistake? Like it's not any dexterity, like it's nothing but luck because you're hitting a ball 1,000 miles an hour as it relates to what it is that you're saying there.
You could hit.
I think a young golfer will hit will be happy to hit a driver right over the green 100 yards just because you hit the ball clean.
Oh, hitting it flush was awesome.
Yes,
I was more pumped about sailing it because I hit a drive for 200 yards more than I was that one time that I pinned it just because I was hitting it as hard as I could back then. So I feel better about it. But Greg hit a shot, and golf's a very frustrating game, obviously, but it's all about hitting 3 shots that keep you coming back.
Mike, your drive on the 11th hole, do you know which hole it landed on? Like, it went in the water. Do you know what hole it was? It was the 14th hole.
It's like Bryson.
I put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, at Batard Show. Are you the golfer who's totally okay sending a drive 200 yards past the hole because you hit a 400-foot bomb?
I was mad that the water hazard was there. That shit would have kept rolling, Dan.
But Dan, you can only do it on a par 3, and Mike's the only one I've ever seen use driver on a par 3.
But I'm arguing. Mike is arguing on behalf of golf that they're the 3 shots that keep you coming back. But I think early on it doesn't even have to be 3. It's just the one flush one.
I just want to make contact.
Yeah.
I was feeling very confident because I didn't swing over a drive that entire 18. Now, mid-range, different story.
Now, Mike played very well. To answer that question, though, any golfer would take the shot that Greg hit.
Yeah,
it was like he broke hearts, Dan. The hole was over, and he pulled out a half a point for us.
I was asking you more, is there a golfer throughout history that has sort of the style or loves the aesthetic so much?
None of the good golfers would take that
would
shot.
Be snobby about, like, I don't want that way. That's not correctly played.
No, they would laugh at their luck. And they would, in the post-match press conference, they would talk about how ridiculous it was that it went in.
I think your son would be embarrassed by hitting that shot because your son is the best golfer by far. Of the 4 of us, he is really good.
Yes. It wasn't even that fun playing with him because we're doing best ball. I'm making 2 contributions here.
Christopher's a great golfer. He's practically, on his game, he's almost a scratch golfer. He drives the ball 280 yards. He has never holed one for more than like 30 yards, he said.
At some point, we are going to be able to put together for the audience some athletic competitions around here that can be wagered on through DraftKings. And one of the things that I'm always marveling at is the critics, us, the people with the microphones, how many different ways we underestimate how difficult some of the things we're watching are. And I thought about this yesterday as I saw Adam Schefter trying to field punts before the game yesterday. We would have so much trouble between us if we took the whole show out and I'd like to do this at some point with the Dolphins. Take the whole show out and see if any one of us can catch a single punt, a single one. Right. In midair, where his effort is to get us to not be able to catch it, right? So angle it and do everything else, not just stand under one and have it be kicked to you, but have to go to the place where the ball is and wait for it and catch it correctly as it falls out of the cloud.
And just make a fair catch.
I think that we'd have uproariously funny things happen and somebody would get hit in the head.
I don't think fair catch. I think we should have the full special teams unit on, and they have to make a tackle.
Well, no, there are liability issues with that. I think that's a terrible, just for you especially, a really terrible
what is
idea.
That supposed to mean?
We're going to get the Dolphins special teams to tackle your brittle bones.
In Smetty's defense, though, I do like the idea. You fair catch it, but you have to have the special teams unit coming down, like hovering.
Oh, my.
Yes, you have to have them coming down.
You weigh less than anyone. You weigh less than
brittle
anyone
bones,
in here.
Dan. How do you know anything about my bones?
Right, that's an assumption.
You weigh less than anyone here, and you being tackled in an NFL football game, I thought you knew wouldn't go well. Or are you someone who thinks, like everyone else in this shipping container, that you're a better athlete than you actually are?
Me and Hunter Renfrow 1v1 open field.
Well, let's talk about this guy, because when he took his helmet off yesterday, I was confused because that dude's good.
Yes.
And obviously smart. He had like the smart play of the game. If you did not see it, he's a punt returner, and the Chargers had a perfectly executed fake punt with a lobbed ball to the gunner who didn't have anyone near him. And this dude flies out of his, I was wondering who hit him like that. I thought it was the gunner from the camera angle I had. I had never seen before a punt returner come and break up a great pass 10 yards downfield with a hit, and then he took off his helmet. And his hair does not work for an excellent athlete. It was confusing to me. It looked like because he's just he's not that old, but he's got the hair of a 43-year-old, a 40 like Scott Skiles.
Right.
Well,
You nailed it with Scott Skiles.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
Yeah. Good.
It feels like we've seen Hunter Renfrow play sports for 10 years because he played all 4 years at Clemson. And you never really see someone in that program stay all 4 years contributing to the team in the way that he did.
The Raiders call it third and Renfro.
I just Googled his age. I'm shocked he's that young.
Scott Skiles was outstanding.
Well, but let's talk about this because if the audience didn't see this, when he took off his helmet, that did not look like an elite athlete who had just made that play in that game.
Right.
A play we've never seen in a really fast and dangerous game. He's very small, first of all, but then you add, like, the small guys in that league have an attitude, and none of them have that hair.
What's the attitude you're talking about? My dad's going to sue you? Because I feel like Hunter's got that energy.
The attitude is, I just got assigned to a dorm with this guy in freshman year of college. Like, he just walked in and it's like, oh, here's your roommate. We're freshmen. Nice to meet you. Let's go to Bilo.
How much does Gruden love that guy? I mean, Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, great name. I mean, it's a world-class name.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do you love how Gruden walks? Because I do. Because he's got the old man confidence of, now my gut goes up here, and my butt is.
What are you gonna do about it?
My butt is in, and I'm just gonna walk. I'm going to walk with my entire gut filled with success, like with my ass tucked under it, so that it's just, I don't care about this anymore. I live in Vegas. I'm making $10 million a year. My owner looks like a scarecrow who got too much radiation past a power plant, and I run this place. And look, and Derek Carr, and look at this guy who's going to run past your secondary. Ruggs. I get jealous there. Whittingham, do you get jealous there too because of Dolphin offense for 20 years?
Oh yeah, Ruggs is good.
No, just a guy running down the field that somebody can throw a 50-yard pass to that will run under it.
Dan, we've sent Chris Whittingham out on assignment, all right? He got into the industry for one reason and one reason only, to walk to the CVS across the street and get industrial-sized nail clippers so Stugotz can cut the gray toenail.
Okay.
Are we going to do that next?
That's going to happen today.
All right.
If Chris
wanna
Whittingham
coach him.
comes back, because just someone like Chris Whittingham walking around South Beach, it's not a given.
We did not talk enough yesterday about the son of Bill Belichick. We failed. We failed yesterday. We talked about that game from so many angles. Have there been ratings yet on that Patriots?
Yeah, second
Yes.
biggest SNF game since 2006.
That's big. We knew it would be, right? I mean, I'm surprised it's not the greatest ever.
Yeah, same here. What is the greatest ever, did they?
I didn't read that in the tweet, but I imagine it was Colts Patriots.
No, the greatest ever was a Week 17 Washington versus Cowboys game for the NFC East title.
Look at you.
Makes sense.
Expertise from Greg Cody.
Yeah,
Wow.
I wasn't there, but in spirit I was.
The son of Belichick. Give me everything you guys have. Was he making signals with his tongue? Was the defense, was he giving signals to his team with his tongue, or did he just have a strange tick of some sort that when he gets aggressive, he sticks his tongue out a lot?
I wondered about that. It can't be a signal because the tongue is too small to be seen on the field. I have to think it was a tick.
He's single-handedly brought the mullet back because he's been married to that hairstyle for 3 years, and now it's kind of coming back, and he's there, stalwart of the mullet.
Everyone, including the pastor of that team, graduates to great jobs. The pastor of that team is now running the Texans because they ran out of all the Charlie Weisses and Bill O'Briens and any guy standing next to the guy.
Is that a great job? I mean, I guess if you're a pastor and you're running a football team.
I'm just saying that the one guy who's not going to be able to parlay it into anything is his son because he chews on his tongue or because he does those things with his tongue. And that's no one will make that a head coach.
But Belichick picked his teeth with a pencil, a lead pencil. That was weird too.
But Belichick is a freak genius. And his son is just giving off on the sidelines, just freak. I can't entrust my football team to you, even though you're Belichick's son.
I haven't seen more extreme facial tics since Adam Gase's introductory Jets press conference. I mean, it was bizarre, and the camera only showed it for like 3 or 4 seconds. And when they left him, I was thinking to myself, no, stay on him, please. I want to see more of this because it was truly bizarre. It was great. Fantastic. One of the highlights of the game.
When I was a little kid, I remember Don Shula's son coaching the Cincinnati Bengals. And Dave Shula, and he got out of the league real quick. In fact, if you go through his Wikipedia page, they don't really have any credentials outside of being Don Shula's son.
Mike, this is great that you would say this, because this is the one place in America, and I dare say the world, where we have with us today the man who has written more crappy columns about the entire Shula coaching tree than anyone on earth. Greg Cody loves to call up a David Shula and fill his columns with uninteresting David Shula quotes. He's been doing it across decades, and he is the foremost. I'm so glad you asked, Mike.
I am too.
We have the foremost authority on Don Shula's sons couldn't coach a lick right here with us today.
If I can correct Levitard's vile hyperbole, I have written one, that's parentheses 1, O-N-E column on Dave Shula. I wrote it.
Greg, you quoted David Shula this week in a column.
Right.
This week you quoted David Shula in a column.
He was at his father's celebration of life.
You've written more. I only know David Shula through your writing. You've written years and years of columns about whether he should be the offensive coordinator here, whether he should be with the Bengals there. No. It is true.
I have written one column on Dave Shula, and it was when he, after 20 years out of coaching, became the wide receivers coach at Dartmouth, where he continues to be. He reinvented himself after 20 years. I thought it was a good column, and it was, and it is. And I quoted him a couple of days ago because he's the eldest son of Don Shula. He was at the celebration of life at the stadium for Shula, which I covered because, unlike yourself, I'm a working journalist who actually gets out and covers things. And Dave Shula, I quoted him. That's all. It wasn't entirely about him. I think there were 2 or 3 paragraphs in a long column about the celebration of life that mentioned Dave Shula.
I read about Don Shula's death, and it was a sad column and a good column because Don Shula was not buried properly in this town during the pandemic.
Right.
He died, and he deserved, because of where we were as a city, a man who has an expressway named after him, a coaching titan, bigger than Pat Riley, the seminal sports figure in this town, representing this town with integrity and grace and all that stuff. As you see Urban Meyer go through what Urban Meyer goes through, he was not buried properly, and thousands of fans came out to honor him. That was an old piece of Miami that made an appearance there to celebrate an old coach because history is cruel and time is cruel and people forget. But you wrote more bad columns about his son. I was not saying that this was a bad column.
Right.
When I saw you quoting David Shula, I remembered, I'm not kidding you, all the times I've read your columns and thought to myself, David Shula's not a good quote.
No, he isn't.
I don't know why Greg Cody keeps quoting him. He's not interesting.
Everything I write is a matter of record that you can Google and look up, and I challenge you or listeners to find.
Oh, you're going to find it.
To find things on. I don't mean a fleeting reference to Dave Shula. I mean something substantially about him.
You've written more about Mike Shula, Stugotz. The Shula family. Saban took Alabama from Mike Shula. Mike Shula was this close, and then it was Saban. The Shulas got very good jobs because of the name Shula.
It's Greg's go-to guy, though. I mean, clearly it's one of his go-to guys. But why would you keep going to him if he's not a good quote?
He's very defensive about you saying that
it's
about
so
him.
Weird. He's protective.
Certainly not what I intended by invoking his name. I think we should move on.
Thank you.
No, I want to keep talking about this because I'm so annoyed by Levitard. Taking pot shots up here. And if they're warranted pot shots, that's one thing. In this case, I wrote a column when Dave Shula, after 20 years out of coaching, got back in coaching. I thought that was a very legitimate column, and it was. and I invite people to go back and look at it. I
You
think
know
it was
what?
like 5 years ago.
You're right. I lay down my
Apologize,
sword. I don't know why it is that this became the one place that you're a dog with the bone with this, and you're wrong. Like
I'm not wrong.
You're okay. That's fine.
That's not laying your sword down.
Okay, I apologize. David Shula's a great quote.
No,
I've
he
read
isn't.
many things about David Shula and his family over the years, and somebody else was writing them. Not my good friend
No,
Greg Cody.
Greg's admitting is not a great quote, but in terms of who remembers your columns more,
I'm
you
laying
or
it
Dan,
down.
I'm going with Dan.
I'm laying down.
Okay.
Greg is right. It's a weird. I'm stunned that he's this defensive about it. I thought he was going to roll with the bit. He needs to protect the Shula family, the Shula name, and weirdly David Shula.
Dave Shula was never a Greg Cody source. Okay, I think that's what you're protecting a potential source 35 years
The
later.
only story is broken is my engagement. Why
Here
would
we
David
go.
Shula be a source on that?
Here
He
we
doesn't
go.
break news.
You challenged me to list stories I've broken over the years, and I gave you a top 10 list, which I believe aired on your show a few years ago. No, in this case, I'm very sensitive to not to criticism, but to unwarranted criticism. So when you make it seem like I'm constantly writing about Dave Shula, it's either a bizarre lie or a simple untruth. It's
Constantly.
The internet.
ridiculous.
We'll see. We're gonna go to the internet now. We
Go
got
ahead.
we got a team of researchers. You have now. I laid down my sword, and now you continue to come after me. And I don't think I'm wrong about this.
Well, you're not coming at I'm not coming after you. You're coming after me, as you did on the air yesterday when you referred to me as useless for some reason. I have no idea. It's a terrible thing to refer to another human being as useless in an era where we all have heightened sensibility to mental health issues
you, man.
and to bullying. For you to go on the air and call somebody, let alone a friend of yours, useless is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm glad I'm going to be at that roast of you Saturday, because I'm going to stand up and start heckling you. Okay, if they're not roasting you hard enough, I'm going to stand up at the table after a couple of scotches and start roasting your ass, because you deserve it, asshole.
Yeah! Told you that was.
all over Dave Shula.
Should have laid down your sword.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Warned you. You make me smile, Greg. That's useful.
Well, Billy, from what I was told, I didn't hear it live. From what I was told, you were the only one who defended me against that yesterday.
All right, now-
Others in the room
All right.
who will go nameless
You had a Dave
jumped
Shula
on the
debate
bandwagon.
yesterday.
No, this is him objecting to being called a useless person.
Oh,
yesterday,
imagine that.
Which I explained.
It did feel lazy.
I explained on air, and this part may not have gotten back to Greg Cody, that I was going to call him a bum, a hobo, or a
Yeah.
homeless man, and I didn't think any of those phrases could they weren't good anymore. They've expired, so they're expired phrases. I looked at all three of them in my head, and they were way past date somehow. I wasn't paying attention. Like those things that I dressed as a hobo when I was a kid.
Right.
I was just wearing my dad's clothes. That's all it was. I did it for 10 years. I called myself a hobo. Words not allowed anymore.
Right. Well,
It's not even homeless. Isn't it's unhoused is
Okay.
now the word. And so because I was doing that, and I thought to myself, well, if I say he's an unhoused person, like that joke's not going to land.
right.
And
Plus,
so I got
unhoused is an awful word.
I got caught up in the air, and so I just simply stumbled over the line and called you instead of a hobo, a bum, or a homeless person.
Okay.
A useless
Yeah,
person.
the coincidence is I actually was a hobo for a couple of years before anybody knew my name. I rode the rails in the Southwest, but useless really hurt because nobody should be called useless. No human being should
The
be called
hobos.
useless. Greg's hobos. Who won, by the way, yesterday?
He's back.
He's not back. That's not a thing we're doing anymore.
Greg's hobos. It was fantastic. Talk about Mike Williams of the Chargers laying an egg last night. Thank you, Mike Williams, because I beat Dick's Rough Riders because Mike Williams had exactly 2 points in that game. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to send him a little Lobo's mint. That's what I'm going to do.
put it right under his.
Damn right. Thank you, Mike Williams. It'll arrive at camp tomorrow.
Look at what cheers him up. Okay, he goes from unhinged, unrailing, calling me names, to getting to talk about his fantasy team.
That's
for
right.
Look at him and look at how delighted it is. Look at the mood alter it is. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Batard show. If you are depressed, does talking about your fantasy team lift depression and make your mental health more sound?
This seems like a great time, Greg, to do our contractually obligated clip honoring the Greg Cody show.
Shit.
Nice.
Featuring it's with Greg Cody.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is Behind the Curtain. This is producing by Mike Ryan.
Yeah,
Tickle him with his narcissism, things about himself.
This is not a dig. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have Dave Shula on this week's episode, don't you?
No, we've done 80 episodes. We've had Dave Shula on once to talk about his dad dying. Is that okay?
Well,
Is that
You
okay?
didn't
Was
mention
Shula
that
greasy,
a second
right?
ago. You didn't
Yes.
mention that a second ago when I put my sword down. You mentioned that didn't exist. That it was only a column about David Shula.
Well, either way, Greg, here is this clip. Would you like to set it up?
I don't know which one was sent to you or which one you picked.
Gentlemen, we're going into this next game off 2 big wins in a row. And I know the psychology of sports better than anybody. And I'm going to tell you, we're poised right now, if we're not careful, to go into this game with a big head. But listen, so we don't go into this game with a big head. I brought in a special guest today. It's Dexter Dinwiddie, who you may all know as the Guinness World Record holder for the smallest head. Now, here's Dexter.
Guys, I've gone through life never having to worry about having a big head. And you know what? Even though some people might make fun of me, I think it's the way to go because I never have to worry about overconfidence, not taking anything for granted. And you guys are in that position right now, okay? I know you got helmets to hide it, but I want you to trot onto that field imagining that helmet is rattling around on top of a small head like mine. Okay, guys? I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. I got all the faith in the world for you. Go get them today with small heads. 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 Small heads.
I want
3 in a row.
How'd you get Dexter?
I want
Well, we put out a couple of feelers a couple of weeks ago. He finally got back to us.
I want the audience to recognize the art in he held out $50, negotiated, wants promotion for his show. And you would have been more likely to listen if we had not played that.
Strong disagree here.
If we play
Yeah,
Dave
thank you.
Shula.
Thank you.
I just subscribed again.
Thank you.
Incredible
Thank you.
stuff. I have my suspicions that Dexter was you with a voice modulator.
Mike,
No, God.
Mike, when you played that, I looked around the room and all of you were cringing. You all had your head in your hands. You were wincing. And as an added bonus, way too long. And I look over at Greg Cody and he's beaming, radiant. Minutes after calling me
Man enjoys his work.
after calling me an asshole, minutes after, like he could not have been happier about his small head joke.
Right.
The Greg Cody show featuring Greg Cody.
Yeah.
If that's not an incentive
With,
to
not
go,
featuring.
to go listen,
That's a fine.
what is?
What it was Dexter was breathy in a similar way, but that also might be because he has the smallest head in the world.
Yeah, he's got trouble inhaling oxygen because of his small head.
When-
I'm not making fun of people with small heads, by the way. I don't know if that's a thing, if that's what made people cringe, but
No, that's not.
for all the
that's-
small-headed people out there, I'm with you.
That's not what made people cringe.
You're not useless.
In fact, it was longer than a cringe. Whatever it is that we were all feeling, I would say was longer than a cringe.
Right.
Now we're gonna get him mad again.
Yeah.
We're gonna get him mad again. But did the tiny-headed Dinwiddie, did he cough while doing that impersonation? Because it sounded like that might have been hard for you to do.
Do you want to hear the clip again, Dan?
Yes,
The whole-
please.
I do,
Yes,
yes.
please.
All
Let's
of
hear
it.
it.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yes.
a dog with a bone on
Yes,
this one.
please.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
we're going into this next game off 2 big wins in a row.
Now
and
3.
I know the psychology of sports better than anybody. And I'm going to tell you, we're poised right now, if we're not careful, to go into this game with a big head. But listen, so we don't go into this game with a big head. I brought in a special guest today. It's Dexter Dinwiddie, who you may all know as the Guinness World Record holder for the smallest head. Now, here's Dexter.
Guys, I've gone through life never having to worry about having a big head. And you know what? Even though some people might make fun of me, I think it's the way to go because I never have to worry about overconfidence, not taking anything for granted. And you guys are in that position right now, okay? I know you got helmets to hide it, but I want you to trot onto that field imagining that helmet is rattling around on top of a small head like mine. Okay, guys? I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. I got all the faith in the world for you. Go get them today with small heads. Small heads. Small heads.
Everybody. Small heads. Small heads. Small heads. Small heads. Small heads.
Roy and Jessica, you're mortified. I've never seen either one of you. Something tragic has swept through the studio. I can't believe how you both seem like you're in a great deal of pain.
Yeah, that was painful. Now, obviously, that was clearly your voice. So, besides that, like, I mean, why? Whose idea was that?
I don't know, like, if I'm confused or if I'm offended in some way.
Let me clear this up. Dexter has actually got a human 6'4" normal size.
He's a football
body.
player. He's a football player.
He just has an extremely
It's
tiny
tiny.
head.
It's tiny. It's a tiny head.
What
That's
about
the joke.
that? Don't you understand?
Again and again, that's the joke. The joke is that he's got a small head.
You don't want to have a big head going into a big game.
You get complacent.
You're right.
So he shrunk the head, and then the
Yes,
voice sounds very.
Thank you for explaining it.
Well, I feel like it's art. He's very proud of what he did with it.
Right. Right. Proud, maybe stretching it.
It's a clip that we just played to promote your show.
Right.
Like, technically, even though you don't know what the clip is, and you were radiant while it was playing both times,
Right.
I might add.
Yeah. The clip was, there were a couple of things that were added out of the clip that I would have had in there when I was introducing Dinwiddie. I said to him as an aside, you have trouble finding hats or what? And it turned,
that would have made people flock to it.
And he told me off air that he does have trouble finding hats, because even the ones with the things, the adjustable strap on the back, don't adjust small enough for him. But anyway, Hard Knocks produces that, so a lot of that is
it's on them.
Right. I mean, we're just I can't tell what they're going to show, what they're not going to show. But you can get a Hard Knocks Lobos update every week on the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody.
I want just to rewind real quick here before we go to some more Urban
Podcast
Meyer talk.
every Monday
just
morning.
want to rewind to the art, the pageantry, the grace of Greg Cody right before all those things that just produced him radiant at his own work. Greg Cody yelled at me and called me an asshole and said that he was glad to see me roasted on Saturday. And can't wait because he kind of heckle me.
Mm-hmm.
When I gave him the offer of being one of the roasters so he can do that, and his profound laziness, because he just wants to go there and drink scotch, his profound laziness prevented him from wanting to do that and make the jokes. And because it would have been work. Writing jokes would have been work.
I think that's before you called him useless.
No, it was before I called him useless.
Right, I think if you asked him today, he'd gladly get up there and deliver for you.
You think? So it has to come because I thought a roast was supposed to be honoring someone. Well, you've not explained to me. You did not decide to do this. You're going to go there and you're going to sit in the crowd and you're going to drink.
Right. And have a good time, even though I got to get up super early the next morning and drive to Tampa for the Dolphin-Bucks game. But that's my problem, not yours. It's going to be fun. No, I look forward to I don't want to work. I don't want to perform.
Well, he explained it to me. You did. I don't know if you remember. At golf, you were, again, four Bloody Marys in on the 8th hole. But you did explain to me that you didn't feel comfortable making fun of a man that you consider to be one of your best friends.
Right.
And Dan Le Batard. It wasn't a comfort zone for you.
The one who just called me useless.
Yes.
So I'm rethinking about that good friend stature.
We're the chickens. Stugotz couldn't go because he doesn't want to hear bad things said about me. And Greg Cody didn't want to go. I mean, what are you guys talking about? Like, I invited you both to an honor of mine. I bestowed upon both of you friendship of come on out and enjoy this with me. And neither one of you got back to me.
I think when you have a really good friend, it's easy to make fun of them because you guys know it's all in jest. But when you actually feel like a little tinge of animosity towards someone, you don't want to take it over the line.
Oh, I see. So if he had gone in there so he'd come in enraged by his resentment.
Boy, psychology over here.
Because we don't promote his show enough.
Well, you do now in lieu of money. So I'm no longer holding out.
But did we just sell that podcast? Was the sound we just played something that made people go, you know what? I need to find out about the small heads and where that chant came from. I'm asking.
Yes is the answer. And it's what you just played. I don't know how long it was. It was 30 seconds of a 53-minute podcast. So,
but the best 30 seconds, right?
No, it was a weird 30 seconds. I think we submitted a couple of different things. One of the things I submitted was we talked to Seth Wickersham, the ESPN senior writer, about his new Patriots book. And I also submitted a sound clip of him telling a couple of funny stories about the Patriots.
That would have been good. That would have, I think, been better than Small Heads. Greg Cody with a journalistic interview of a writer who's going to be on with us next week.
You tune into Greg Cody, you want Small Heads. You want Small Heads. You want a chant of Small Heads. You don't want journalism.
Honestly, I subscribed when you oddly got defensive over Dave Shule and called Dan an asshole.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Had you guys considered, because I had not before yesterday, I did not realize that so many people were talking about this, but in Jacksonville, we have an unusual story by any measure in sports where a professional, mercenary, ego guy, it's the top of the profession on leadership in sports and how we treat those people, had his choice of jobs between the greatest in college, which is Texas, and just you get those football players, you get all the money in the world. It's a great job. And he decided on this one. And when he decided on this one, very quickly after that, all of you guys were saying he's not going to last. He's going to get 2 or 3 games here. He's not going to last. Now, I've never seen this. And so when it made a first appearance, somebody reported that Urban Meyer might leave early. It was just a rumor thing. I don't know whether it wasn't Rappaport, was it?
It was us 2 weeks ago when the USC job became open.
But it wasn't just us. There was a news peg to it. We didn't invent it. It wasn't us. There was a report that Urban Meyer was already reconsidering, and then USC made an appearance. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And all of you were like, no, this would make sense for this guy. And so what I saw yesterday, because you're this suspicious of this guy, was a whole lot of people. And it made me think this might be genius if he was actually this sophisticated about it. That you invent a scandal so that you could go be with your family and you're not just quitting on a season. Like, I saw a lot of people doing this, enjoying the soap opera conspiracy elements, and it's something that would not have ever dawned on me. Like, I would have simply never considered the idea that your lack of scruples go so deep down that you could orchestrate something like that with your wife. I can't believe it.
I think you're giving him too much credit.
Right.
I mean,
it's not me giving him too much credit.
People are assigning too much credit to Urban. To Urban's a bad dude. Like, that's it.
Man, I hate that one. And I understand why you do it, but for 15 years at ESPN, they've banned the idea of good dude, bad dude. Just talk about what a person's actions are. Don't, when you've never met a person, whoever that person is, even though a lot of people would arrive at the appraisal that you're arriving at.
Right.
They sort of banned from ESPN bad person because it's just such an overarching, sweeping
That's fair.
smear. But this was a reinforcement. Like, what happened Saturday night was like, of course, that would be the unpleasant, icky scandal, some form of weird, and it would be that coach. But I was stunned by this. Orlovsky and Marcus Spears calling for his firing. What the hell does what happened this weekend have to do with whether you're a good football coach or not? Like, we're going to have these organizations be morals organizations. We're going to have these football teams be morals organization and fire him over this, but not fire him over any number of other things that do affect football.
I think it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, though. Like, he's publicly humiliating the organization and himself.
But this one cheating on your wife, like that's the other strikes against him, if you want to make them fireable, are embarrassments that might have to do with football.
But I think Jess is saying body of work, and this is the story that puts it over.
I agree, Dan. Like, I thought hiring him in the first place was a bad decision, but now he's like repeatedly shown you why.
But you explain to me where else in CEO-dom, as all of these organizations in the commerce world are run by mercenaries, where infidelity would get any of them fired after 4 games into a tenure when you've given them tens of millions of dollars. I was just floored. I thought the shame was, I mean, you heard Tony Khan in here, the owner's son, talking about in breathless terms about how Urban Meyer has changed the entire culture in Jacksonville and that he's a believer.
Well, we don't know if he cheated on his wife. It's not infidelity. It's the public video of him at a bar with doing inappropriate behavior. If it's one thing if you cheat on your wife in private and we don't know about it, we don't really talk about it, we don't see it. It's another thing to be at a bar publicly 3 days after your loss, you're 0-4, and you're embarrassing the entire organization.
It is a stain on the organization, and it's a distraction totally caused by your own actions. And the case that Orlovsky and Swagoo were specifically laying out yesterday on NFL Live.
What happened?
Because I was watching it. I can't say Swagoo without thinking of Greeny doing the toss. Swagoo.
You have to say Swagoo.
Every time you've said it, it is in any. First of all, you don't have. It could be Marcus Spears, but you like saying Swagoo.
He's Swagoo. He likes to be called Swagoo. I'm gonna call him Swagoo. But this was one of the weird. I'm going to play this clip from the press conference yesterday, and it was one of the many shitty things Urban Meyer has done in Jacksonville. But in this press conference, he invokes Trevor Lawrence, oddly.
Well, I've always been so defensive of them. You know, I remember when Trevor told me he was going to go to Vegas for his bachelor party. I mean, I was just, my gosh, man, be careful and surround yourself, and because I've seen this happen. So the team, I spoke to him.
Come on, man.
Do I have to call him a good dude? I mean,
Trevor is watching NFL Live at
What
home
did
with
I
his
do?
now
Why am I
wife.
catching a straight? Why is he putting my bachelor party Vegas business out there when Vegas stays in Vegas?
It's also like Trevor Lawrence, who has never done anything that anyone would consider bad or inappropriate, being told, be careful by Urban Meyer. Come on. Also, we need to bring up the fact that Urban Meyer taught a leadership and character class at Ohio State University.
It's so good. It's like cartoon fiction. It's unbelievable. You can't make up in that sport. The coaches, they stay out of these things and saying interesting things, and to go into that sport. Let's think about this for a second. That sport, with whatever the immoralities are at the core of that sport, and the immoralities that have to be breached in order to become billionaires in this country, which almost always require the exploitation of somebody. That in that sport, that guy would stand out as Jerry Jones going, ooh. like Jerry Jones, you saw the scandal that Jerry Jones that went away, him in a bathroom with a woman and photos all over. It was worse than this. And Jerry's like, Johnny Walker Blue, I'm an owner, baby. It don't matter. None of this stuff sticks to me.
It doesn't matter. He's not trying to preach culture. He's Jerry Jones. He's Johnny Walker Blue. He hires other people to build culture. And it's a problem if Bill Parcells
Jerry
is
Richardson was out here. They took his team for rubbing feet, man.
Well, that happened so quickly, I'm led to believe that there was more than just a feet rubbing. Sometimes people act so swiftly that
that was
there's
stunning.
Just more.
How does that go away quickly? An NFL owner got his team taken away like Sterling, and we all just were like, Tappers.
Well, he gave up the team, though. Sterling did not want to give up the team. I mean,
I understand, but
Richardson let it go.
Yeah, well, he let it go, but it was stripped from him.
There was probably a dossier somewhere.
There was leering. Then they got his statue out of there with the giant panthers. It was amazing. How do you do any of that quietly? How do you get an owner gone and take his statue with the giant panthers out of there. And it's like, we're all like, yeah, just a couple details there, probably uncomfortable.
Right. And where is the statue now? Did they give it to him? Is it in his backyard?
It's in storage.
Yeah. Okay.
A couple billions, a nice little parachute on your way out. You didn't even have to really deal with the national shame. I just rubbed a foot. It was actually a pretty decent deal that Jerry Richardson walked away with ultimately. But Orlovsky, a man of high moral character, and Trevor Lawrence, also a man of high moral character, their whole argument is, you're telling me what to do as a professional. I'm supposed to take your lead. How are you supposed to help me get better when you can't even control yourself? You're here to teach a culture. Get out of here. I'm not listening to you. I've lost all respect for you.
What about Patriot Way Bob Kraft? This doesn't stick to the owners. What about Patriot Way Bob Kraft doing Letcher's things that he lawyers out of?
I mean, if Bob Kraft is in the locker room week in and week out and demanding toughness from his players at training camp, maybe, but he has other people for that.
The thing I'm marveling at is the cartoon comedic symbolism in being too slimy for that. Like Glorious Sunday wrapped in the flag. Beautiful. We celebrated that sport. Like, are you, how are even the others in Bob Kraft's looking at you like after cheating scandals and Boca Raton arrest, he's looking at you like, ew, you're dumb.
Too slimy for the NFL, but fits in well in college.
Reason that we're talking about this, not just because it's the main talking point in the NFL, is the Mike Lombardi report that came out this morning that says, according to two sources in Jacksonville, there are many closed-door meetings happening over the last 2 days in the football offices, and none of them have anything to do with the Titans. Stay tuned. This might get ugly.
Where do you guys have all of this going? And I didn't engage any of you on the whispered, reckless speculation of this is how Urban gets out without just quitting. You guys, again, I want to take you through this process. I was stunned that you guys were like, yeah, if he leaves the pros after 2 or 3 games, after turning down Texas, this is the guy who would do that.
I don't think he would go through all of this. This is a bad look for Urban Meyer. This doesn't help his legacy at all. I think Urban would just quit and say, I made a mistake.
I'm so surprised Dan was a guy that came up with that spin zone in that studio, not Stugotz.
But it's not, no, it's not me. It's how many people.
I thought of it.
It's how many people I saw talking about it online, and it hadn't dawned on me that someone that you would think this person so sinister that they would be capable of that kind of, like, you're giving Urban Meyer genius even as he's a dope in front of you. You're making, like, we do this all the time with the coaches. This is the strategy that they use because they're going to outsmart you. Urban Meyer's there because he's going to get into the league and he's going to outsmart you and he's going to make his players, they're going to out-tough you.
Loss in all of this is there's a lot of bad judgment displayed, but you can't necessarily be inconspicuous at Urban Meyer's Pint House.
That's so good. Such a good detail.
Can't exactly keep a low profile.
It's such a good detail that it's his place and the reports are 6 margaritas in.
Well, the stupidity of it.
Tough loss.
The stupidity of it is just so astounding. And we've seen this before over the years where a celebrity goes into a bar, let alone his own bar, where drinking is likely involved, and doesn't think that anything he does of a questionable nature isn't going to be videotaped and recorded and photoed and show up all over social media. It's ridiculous.
Urban's lived in this insulated world forever. College football, Ohio State, where he almost got away with just about everything and anything. And now he's in the NFL. It was a terrible mistake, but this is a man who was accustomed to getting his way and getting away with whatever he wants for his entire life, his entire career.
I actually want to visit this place. I feel like it's a part of football lore now.
Mike.
Come on, I want to get. Look at the bar bites. Look at the menu. Looks kind of good.
It's a shrine.
They do have a brunch menu.
Nice.
Why?
Can we call over there and like talk to a manager or something and just get some details about this place? Take like a virtual tour of Urban Meyer's Pint House.
Dan, I honestly look through the menu and icky because they serve a Shelly Teeny.
I want to go through the rest of this menu. I want to call a manager as soon as they open. Does it open?
Shelly's Rosé.
You think a manager's going to walk us through the rest
Shelly's Punch Bowl. You'd have to think, given the video that we saw, that someone was sipping on. Now, this may be a journalistic leap by me, but something with Shelley's name had to have been ordered and consumed that day.
It is amazing to me because Greg Cody, and of course, we can all look at this and say, how dumb are you, dumb person who gets caught in this scandal and doesn't know that cameras are always on you. But I want you to go back 20, 30 years in time to whenever you were a young person and the idea, or maybe the beginning of Urban Meyer's career, and say to him, hey, Urban, you're not going to believe this. And this is going to be pre-internet or close to pre-internet. In many years, you're going to have a terrible scandal after having this conflict between the University of Texas, a wonderful job in Jacksonville, 3 games into your career, and people are going to be so microscopically studying the film of you in a bar that they're going to wonder whether you put a finger in the food. Like that's how that was being studied, and that would be the scandal. That was his finger in there, or was it not in there, is something that is being studied. It's a scandal unlike any in the history of NFL coaching.
Okay, hold on. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a drink on this menu called a man-mosa. We are like 10 days away from sack up with Dan Dockich and Urban Meyer.
Hell yeah.
Clay Travis's truck is going to be at the shit stain mobile is going to be outside.
What is a man-mosa? Like, why do we have to call a drink a man-mosa? Just it's beer with orange juice.
He's going to go right
vodka.
back to Fox and the college football. You guys, this isn't going to flame out like this.
Damn, we said it was going to flame out.
USC.
We
Right
said
back
it was
to a
going to flame
TV
out.
job?
We said it was going to flame out like this before this latest scandal. This has felt wrong since it got going over there. He's had way too many distractions for a head coach that he made. He hired that strength and conditioning coach. He made those players run the Oklahoma drill. He put out that statement after 0-2 that made it seem like it was the end of the world and they were going to turn it around. He's out there saying the division's still within reach. He's the one bumping and grinding at Urban Meyer's Pint House.
It makes me happy. How do I get more reporting about Urban Meyer's Pint House? It's not just the menu I want. I want the decor. Was he in the center of a shrine to himself? 4 losses after turning down a Texas job he could have had for 10 years and replaced Nick Saban in the SEC.
Short rib tacos.
Yeah, no,
Those sound good.
It feels traditional, but with a modern flair. Urban Meyer's Pint House. I'm not sure what the 7-0 stands for, but there's a 7-0 button over there. A lot of high ceilings over there, Dan, and you could order the coach's favorite, which is linguine and clams.
I want you guys, honestly, because this would be an amazing flame out in so many
And if
different...
you can't trust the linguine and clams at Urban Meyer's Pint House,
Where can you
then
trust
you
them?
just can't trust Urban Meyer.
Put it on the poll. If you can't trust the linguine and clams at Urban Meyer's Pint House, then can you ever trust the linguine and clams? But this is funny. You can't. It's sort of amazing here that the Texas job was available to him, and he could have spent his time really enjoying his life and his job, if not from the temptation of, I got to see what it looks like in the pros. And
I think it was Trevor Lawrence, right? That quarterback having the chance to coach.
well, but
that
and
quarterback.
combined, soaked with his own ego too. I know that this quarterback will change everything with me, and we will win the way that we used to win. When Trevor Lawrence has now lost more in the pros than he lost in all of high school and all of college, he's already lost more games than that, and they're drowning there.
It's funny, the perspective, though. If the Jaguars were 3-1 right now and Trevor Lawrence was looking like Justin Herbert, then what Urban did the other day in his bar would not
Really
be seen like this.
If they were 4-0, it's not. You're saying if they were 4-0, winning covers up that much stench. It has. It's as his body of work would indicate.
Yes.
Winning has covered up a whole lot of stench.
No, okay, think about for a second. When is the last time you saw an NFL head coach do something like this or do something similar that is publicly embarrassing?
Jay Gruden.
Rex Ryan had a foot fetish.
But
Yes,
that
he
was
did.
a thing with
That was
his
with his wife.
And
Jay Gruden had a similar thing.
I honestly, I can't think of one. If you can think of one, get back to me.
Let me clarify. No one has had a similar thing to this. Grinding at Urban Meyer's Pint House whilst being Urban Meyer. That is unique to Urban.
I'm not defending Urban. What I'm saying is if the Jags are doing really well right now and Trevor Lawrence looks great, people aren't talking about it as a firing offense. They're saying, "Oh, it's an embarrassment."
I'm stunned that anyone's talking about any of this as a firing offense. This act by itself, you guys are even saying it's not the act; it's that we saw it. It's not even the act. Just hide your character. We'll accept it if it's a terrible character. Just make sure to hide it. And it's like this has been in plain view for a while on this guy. There's very few people. I'm rooting against him. I don't root against anybody. This is a source of comedy throughout the league. Seeing the ego fall like this.
But to Greg's point, when he's having success, we don't make that big of a deal of it. And the fact that he's not in the NFL and everyone's now making this a big deal, I think it would still be a big deal, Greg, what he did.
I do too, but it would be put in a whole different context. It would be an embarrassment. We would accept the apology and move on. We wouldn't dwell and say, you got to fire this guy.
It wasn't really an apology, though. He tried to make excuses and explain something that we had already seen, which was not what his explanation was.
I will marvel at this again, okay, just because I really do want to impress upon you. Jimmy Johnson helped Urban Meyer with this decision. Jimmy Johnson, in many ways, speaks very highly about regretting ever going to the pros, even though he had to test himself because he had something cushy. Bobby Bowden had a great gig. Bobby Bowden, to be that across the sport, to be Nick Saban must be great fun. Nick Saban failed in the NFL. The idea that you're going to be smarter than everyone up here when there's salary cap and the people, you don't have to beat Ed Orgeron up here. Like in college, you can be smarter than some of these guys.
Urban would still have that great gig though at Ohio State still. He wouldn't be in Jacksonville had he not gotten in trouble there.
I know, but what I'm telling you, just so that you understand how hard this is, because Nick Saban failed in the pros because he didn't get Drew Brees. This is how thin the margins are. And the players didn't like, hey, tie your shoes. Like they were millionaires and like, get out of here, man. And so he went to coach players that he could do that to. And they fall in line. They're a robot factory university. But Urban Meyer had this, and this is the part that's amazing. Look at what the Texans look like with their third string quarterback. Urban Meyer won a championship with his. His third string quarterback won a championship in college because you could be smarter than everyone down there. That's the minor leagues. That's SEC football. That's Nick Saban can be better than Sean Payton there.
Well, you're a better salesman there because his third string quarterback was better than most universities' first string quarterback.
If you get all the players, this is what I was marveling about the ego in Urban Meyer's decision to turn down Texas. He could have run the sport for 15 more years if he wanted to. And the ego has doomed him in 4 games. You guys are telling me the ego of that decision, that crossroads would make him choosing that vanity, that superficiality instead of comfort, choosing to feed the ego ends like this 4 games in.
It appears like I don't think he's going to make the season, Dan. And if he still wants to run college football for the next 15 years along with Nick Saban, he still can.
What is this report, though, Mike? When this sounds like how people gather when you are thinking, when the pressure is rising to a place where you are thinking about firing somebody, when your house is in crisis. And you are now trying to figure out how do we handle this because we didn't make this go away with our coach going out there and saying my family's upset with me.
Well, just to supplement what you were saying, it didn't start with the USC stuff. People put 2 and 2 together because there was a report earlier in that week saying that people inside that headquarters are already over the Urban Meyer experience before they had even played a second game.
What was Tony Khan telling us then?
Tony Khan told us, okay, we do this with Tony Khan. Tony Khan is an advanced metrics analyst for the Jacksonville Jaguars, whose main responsibility for that organization is identifying undrafted free agents. He also happens to be the owner's son, so he has a buy-in. Jacksonville has now quite the history of hiring disciplinarian coaches. Urban Meyer fits that mold, okay? This is Tom Coughlin. This is Doug Marrone. This is how Jacksonville and Shad Khan has made his hiring practices. The fact that Tony Khan said, you have to win with the talent that you have, and that's what Urban Meyer taught me, it feels like a pot shot against Tony, a dear friend.
I love Tony Khan too, but we didn't call him nearly enough on all of that. Jessica called us out after that show. I wanted to call Tony Khan back and put him on air because we were cowards about not questioning Tony Khan, who was singing hallelujah hosannas to how much Urban Meyer had changed the culture before they'd played a game.
Yeah, I'm a buck up against that notion. He just said, like, you have to win with the talent that you have around, and he changed my whole philosophy on that. Okay, cool. But also he's super embarrassing and he's winless. and he's burning everybody in that organization out. And at one point, do you start asking yourself, are we beyond the point of no return here? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
A month in.
This is the Urban Meyer experience. He flames out spectacularly. The only thing different about
but this is the Urban Meyer experience when he's losing.
Yeah, well, we've never seen him lose. He flames out at places that he's super successful at. Now you add losing on top of that, someone that historically hasn't even been able to handle just the slightest bit of adversity at Florida or at Ohio State. I'm not at all surprised by any of this.
I wonder very skeptically. I don't think those meetings in Jacksonville, those hand-wringing meetings, are happening right now. If they're 3-1 and Trevor's doing great, they're not happening.
But that's fine. You can take that position. But the part that I want to marvel at with you guys, because I just stopped you on bad guy. I stopped you on bad guy because that's not the language you use. Right. But what you just described, Mike, is you used a whole bunch of words for coward. Like you used a whole bunch of words for guy who makes a lot of money telling others how to be tough and bails every time something makes an appearance of his own making. This is tough guy telling others how to be accountable and tough.
No, I want to be careful with coward because for whatever reason, that adversity manifests itself in very clear and obvious anxiety and migraines for Urban Meyer. He may internalize things to the point that it manifests itself that way, but I'm not going to call him a coward because I imagine there's a great deal of turmoil inside of Urban Meyer right now, and I wouldn't wish that upon myself.
Let me ask you guys this because I've had some remorse since this started because 4 games ago, the first loss, I publicly said I never root against others. I don't throw that into the atmosphere, but I'm going to enjoy Urban Meyer feeling this on Sundays for the end of time. I would like it to last the end of time. Mm-hmm. And as I've seen some of this fall on a guy's neck who doesn't handle adversity well and who is in pain even when he's having wild success, right? Falling to his knees on the sidelines. The whole thing is really stressful for him, absent what's happening right now, which is unlike anything that he's dealt with in terms of how close, literally close to home it gets, right? Because this is a whole nother set of problems. Urban Meyer, Wright Thompson was wandering around with Urban Meyer Cleveland when he was having this soul-searching thing. Wright Thompson, one of the great poets in reporting and writing. And it was about the tug of Urban Meyer to get back to his family because football corrupts, success and ego corrupt, the chasing of these big things take you away from your family. And isn't it nice to have a catch with your kid on the field on the Cleveland ballpark? And Urban Meyer has time for that now. Fatherhood first, family and faith after that. All the things that football sells. For this to be the scandal, he hasn't had this one, which is now not just, hey, this is a mercenary at work, and we also understand that for winning, we won't judge you too much. We get it. You're a salesman, mercenary, shark. There are going to be compromised principles in the way to winning in commerce. But now it's at home. It's this scandal because we all know what that is. Oh, look, you don't only have 0-4, you got a bigger, you might have, we don't know what your relationship is, but we're going to snoop around in it because you're famous. And so now we're snooping around, and now you got the internet on your neck. And now you got jokes on your neck. And now you've got kids, the kid you were playing a catch with at the park, he's being laughed at. Your father. This family's now under duress, and I have felt that somewhere in this, I really hope that this doesn't actually harm his health.
I think they beat the Titans on Sunday.
We were talking about this Urban Meyer thing during the break and just what you've seen over the last years in America where these leaders of football team become leaders of men and give off symbols for leadership. This is how you change a culture. This is how you fix an environment. Urban Meyer, come rescue us. You are the savior who will come in and you will teach my mailroom how to be tougher, and you're going to change our building with the strength of your will and character. Tomorrow, you will hear from Howard Bryant and Kate Fagan and Tom Haberstroh as they discuss how the coaching model throughout sports allows a whole lot of men to do bad things to kids. Just the way the culture of it works. We're putting our kids in the hands of men very often, most often, men, and it's a prey ground. You're seeing it throughout sports with all of these stories coming out all over the place of this is what my coach did to me. Like it's Me Too. If it had a name, it's happening throughout sports where hockey leagues and tennis, they're all polluted. They're just polluted with some of these relationships between coaches and players that are problematic. And we were talking during the break, and there's just so much fascinating stuff happening around Urban Meyer and the kind of guy that you think you need to hire in that sport to teach your players the right thing. Because in that sport, I've been talking about this for a while, Stugotz, the racial tension in that sport. It's not lost on me that they've changed all the rules when Tom Brady gets hurt, and they make sure that Peyton Manning's getting the commercials. You got to keep the white quarterbacks in the league as your stars, and it's getting harder. Because you can't, I mean, I've been having this conversation with Bomani for a decade about how all the rules are meant to change to prevent the NFL from being stuck with a bunch of conservative owners feeling like they're running a prison yard or whatever it is that the white power would assign to. I can't have my entire league be black. I'm going to Wellington Mara the taunting out of my league because that's what I associate with blackness. I'm going to get rid of the do-rags, and because that's not a rule meant for Cole Beasley. And I'm going to make sure that this is palatable to my audience. As a guy kneels and it becomes about the flag for 4 years and he no longer works in the league. But now Patrick Mahomes is your star. And so Roger Goodell has to, okay, no, we're racism ends here in the end zone, or stop racism. And the construct that I've always objected to, Stugotz, over 20 years of telling you, stop with the coach stuff, is, well, these black dudes need a white guy to come in there and be powerful and be smart on behalf of the general culture. General culture, I'm the general. They can't do it themselves, and it's absurd. The idea that Urban Meyer would come in there and make anybody on the Jags tougher at football than Bruce Arians is making them tougher at football. It disrespects what they do to their bodies and the work they put in, risking injury at every turn, to assume that they can't do it unless Urban Meyer teaches them how.
So why do these owners gravitate towards the disciplinarian head coach? And obviously, race is playing a factor here somewhat, but I also think a conversation that's not really being had is how the class system also plays a factor here. The class system in this country also pretty strongly divided upon racial lines. But let's take Shad Khan for an example. This isn't generational wealth. This is someone that came up from humble beginnings and worked himself up through the ranks and became a billionaire owner of one of 32 prize commodities, an NFL football team.
Can give his son, so wealthy, can give his son a wrestling enterprise that is now going to be a monster business just because he's got so much money. He's got a yacht that was in a Netflix movie that is one of the biggest yachts in the world.
So why does he gravitate towards the Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, Urban Meyer type? And I just think there's a lot of ego, obviously, that comes with being a billionaire. And it's an ego stroke if someone comes up to you and says, no, it wasn't your problem. You're not the problem. These are good players. They're just not tough enough. And I think that there's just a mental mindset from a lot of billionaires, a lot of the wealthy people in power in that sport in particular, that they possibly couldn't have been this wrong. They're successful in every other phase of life. I'm not getting the return on my investment because these players are simply not tough enough. We got to work those people in the mailroom harder. I need the right person out here to sharpen these tools and get them tougher because I wasn't wrong. And that's how you end up with Dan Campbell being the head coach of the Lions.
And it's followed by a self-belief that it is those traits that got you to that success. I would imagine every billionaire who owns an NFL team is self-assured in their hard work. Their cutthroat nature is the reason why they are billionaires and the reason why they own their teams. And therefore, they need to imbue that upon their NFL teams. They need to bring in a leadership figure that can assign those qualities and those traits to their football team.
You guys think that Man Campbell is killing the interview because he's just the Lions over a half a century of failure? They're just as bad as they ever were, and they've got Jared Goff, who's not a very good quarterback, and he's not going to fix anything with press conferences that bite your kneecaps.
He's going to fix it with his muscles, Dan.
You guys think he's just going into the room and flexing in front, like taking off his shirt
I'd hire him.
and flexing in front of, it's still the Ford family.
It's still the Ford
right?
family, which has been a disastrous NFL owner. And I mean, Ford needed to be bailed out. Like
this is America tough. Man Campbell is going to go in there and make
Ford
it.
tough.
He is. Yes, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is Man Campbell built Ford tough? He's going to go in there and he's going to make the Lions tougher than Justin Fields.
But if you find yourself managing partner of the Detroit Lions, no matter the lack of on-field success, you're still going to be feeling pretty confident about how things have gone for you personally. You think that you're responsible for a lot of success. It's how your head gets big when you're wealthy. It doesn't necessarily, they won't have the self-awareness to know that it's generational wealth. They feel like, to a degree, their acumen has gotten them to that point in life. So why, in one phase of their life that doesn't even really matter to them all that much, are they not getting it right? Clearly, it's because the players are letting them down. I'm the guy for the job. You have enough to win here. I'm the right person to get the most out of these players. They're simply not tough enough. That is like pornography for an owner, because it's basically the class system. Essentially, yeah, they're getting paid millions of dollars, but to an owner, that ain't shit. To an owner, that's Odell Beckham Jr. out there going out before a playoff game on a boat, not giving a freak.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. You got scared around it. You're still not comfortable around it. You don't know whether we want to be a live thing.
And then I still said fuck, so we had to maybe edit.
There it is.
Said it again.
No surprise to me, at least, that one of the people who has been considered a forefront voice in changing the taunting penalty emphasis rule this year in the NFL has been John Mara, who, famously had this huge spat with Odell Beckham a couple years ago. Odell Beckham, who's like a fashion icon, who's loud, who's himself, and got traded away to Cleveland, like basically the equivalent of getting exiled to Siberia, because he couldn't get along with the front office, even though he was easily the best player on the team.
By son of Wellington.
Wellington Mara, yes.
Son of Wellington had a problem with Odell Beckham and therefore changed how these men can talk to each other.
They had an argument. It was a beef Wellington.
No way.
That might be the best one ever.
No
that was actually pretty good. Yeah.
That deserves a much better face. Beef Wellington.
You know what? I think we've got Beef Wellington with the Loser Game Show sound here as a show. I believe the entire show, this might be a first ever reversal.
Not above admitting I was wrong in this
Thank
instance.
you.
All right. Give it to him.
Wow. Oh, my God. A historic.
Wow.
Wait a minute. You are
a
above.
reversal.
You are above.
We threw challenge flags.
We said today that you are above admitting when you're wrong.
Just with draft analysis, I think.
Is that? No, I don't think. And the Heat and I mean, just yesterday, and Baker Mayfield and.
No, I still blame Mangini for Brady Quinn.
Did you find out, because you've been trying, and there are some people who are enjoying Baker Mayfield looking less than stellar. The first 2 weeks,
Some people, yeah, a lot of people do.
Super accurate first 2 weeks and good. Throwing the ball downfield first 2 weeks, and he hasn't looked elite. And some people are saying that you still don't know about your quarterback, and it feels like you're very defensive about this.
I'm always going to be defensive of the best quarterback I've had in my lifetime at that position. Always. Also, I had him at a very high grade, so I'm happy they drafted him.
Did you find out, is what I wanted to ask you, whether or not the Odell Beckham, because you were a dog with a bone on this one, whether Beckham had a touchdown, would have been an easy 70-yard touchdown. In the league, we've gotten so used to these guys being precise that when somebody misses by 5 yards on even a deep pass, you're like, what the hell, man? Be more accurate than
Beckham
that.
certainly had one touchdown earlier that was entirely Baker's fault. I mean, I was busting out the all-22. I really don't know whose fault that was at the very last play that would have iced that game. A very good win for the Cleveland Browns, considering how poorly Baker played. That was Baker's worst game this season. He had a couple of bad ones last week, and yeah, he was good the first 2 weeks. You could even extend him the benefit of the doubt some in Chicago, considering how much pressure that he got, but he was really bad against a decent Minnesota team, and Cleveland still found a way to win. Baker needs to be a lot better for them to win a Super Bowl.
Billy, I have hurt for you today, because even though you were behind the mask there's not been enough Billy Gill in the show today. And I've asked a couple of different times, not wanting to bother you because you're in the dungeon.
Oh, I'm out of the dungeon.
The useless sound montage, you've been there a good amount of the show, and I'm just wondering how you're doing because I've missed you. I've wanted to talk to you here, and you just lost in this awful land that I'm beginning to think isn't worth the amount of time that you have to give it.
You know what? I've missed you too, Dan Le Batard, but we're out of the dungeon. It's ready if you want to go to it. I can give you the list.
Boy.
Let me walk in. Let me mosey on in there and give you the list if you want. Do you want it now? If not, we can do it later. Do you want it now?
I want you
Later?
to give us a
Now?
preview.
Later?
I want you to give us a preview of what we're in for here, how you feel about it, because you work many, many hours on what ends up being 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and it takes you out of too much of the show. The audience doesn't like it, and I don't like it. And as much as I love this segment, and it's one of our most popular segments, Stugotz, it takes Billy out of the show. So what do you think we should do?
I think we should play it, but I think Billy needs to. Billy has gotten this thing down to a science. Like, he's really good at it. And I know the audience doesn't like Billy coming out of the show for as long as he's out of the show doing this, but they get the prize, Dan. They get like a little pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and that is the useless sound montage, which they love very much. Almost as much as anything on this show. So Billy has to stay entrenched in hell. Sorry.
Thanks, you guys.
All right.
Speaking of, let me close the loop on Baker Mayfield.
He stinks.
In summary,
I don't
14 to 33, Mike.
I don't think he sinks. What I said at the end of last season is I don't think he's when things break down, is he elite enough to rise above a bad scheme or a lack of talent or an obscene amount of pass rush from the defense? No, I think he's good enough to win. He needs to tighten stuff up. I do think he's hurt. That offensive line on his blind side in particular has been unsettled, but these are all excuses. I think he's feeling pressure because he is hurt a little sooner, and he's sailing balls. But also, you said his first 2 games were really good, and his last 2 games not so much. Odell Beckham Jr. has come back in those last 2 games.
Yep.
Now, I watched that game again. Odell is getting plenty of separation. I don't know if he throws in an extra double move in there and Baker still hasn't been able to get used to it.
How can
For
this
the
be?
life of me, I don't understand
How
it.
can this be? I don't. We've had this conversation since he got there, and it's puzzling in ways that don't have a good explanation that I've heard for all the people analyzing football. How the hell does Odell Beckham get there? It's a small sample, but how is it that he gets there and it doesn't look right? They cannot. Odell Beckham is one of the best we've ever seen. His catch radius is absurd.
He was one of the best we'd ever seen, as I identified on the Sunday Night Show. It's been a long time since we've
is his
seen
body
Odell like
broken?
that.
Is that what it is? Because he started the season, he might not be healthy either.
He's getting separation, though. He got separation against Minnesota. It's very clearly a timing thing. Baker has also sailed balls. Baker's dealing with that shoulder on his non-throwing shoulder, that injury there. They can't get on the same page. And it's lazy for me to take the take that I took on Sunday, which is you just got to trade Odell. One of the options available is Baker can figure this out, but the sample is growing. It's not such a small sample anymore. And at this point, if it is just as simple as he can't go through all of his progressions and be as accurate with Odell Beckham Jr. on the field, yes, that's a strike against Baker, but unfortunately, Odell's going to have to pay for it because we're better with Donovan Peoples-Jones out there.
Mike, help me out with this because the first season, Odell had, I think, 70 to 80 catches, over 1,000 yards, not a ton of touchdowns.
Okay. It was just an okay season.
But
for him, this is
right.
Yeah, he could give you 200 yards any game, and we were coming off of Josh Gordon being there. Like that didn't.
But Mike's watching all these games. I'm just interested. Like, philosophically, their entire offense has changed, where they're not trying to throw the ball all over the field. They're running the ball predominantly.
Yeah, Stefanski brought in a more run-oriented offense to the point that it opens up so many individual matchups, and you can see exactly where Odell Beckham Jr. can help this team. If those passes are on target, Odell's a hell of a weapon for Stefanski, who relishes getting the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. in space, and Odell still has those shifty moves and the speed to pull away from guys. I just don't understand why. There must be something going on. I would love to get Baker Mayfield on True Serum.
Let's get someone to explain it to us. Let's get someone who understands.
I know just a person.
Let's get a person who knows a lot and breaks down film and can help us with the analytics.
Jake Burns, coming your way.
All right, let's figure out how to do that.
Look, this is the opposite of analytics. Imagine that. Sometimes it's all just the broad strokes. Nobody on earth is arguing that Odell Beckham Jr. is the player today that he was 3 or 4 years ago. He isn't. He just isn't. He's still pretty good. He's not the elite player he used to be. And number two, Baker Mayfield is in that broad category of second-tier quarterbacks. He's inconsistent. He's going to look very good for 2 games, and you're going to go, wow, he's turned the corner. Baker's our guy. He's great. And then he's going to be Baker Mayfield for a couple of games, and you're going to go, well, maybe he's not quite that great.
This is
I
all
don't even know what you mean
very
by he's going to be Baker
No,
Mayfield.
this is very general analysis. I can't wait to pair that old school journalist who doesn't want data against what you're about to bring us here, which is somebody who actually is watching what he's doing and wants the information. You're an expert, but you're a grizzled dinosaur.
Yeah, I don't watch Browns games.
You're not, but and breaking this down, the way you did that was super general.
Right.
He'll be good one game, he won't be good another.
It's true though.
It is true, but it's not. It's next to nothing what we were talking about.
Right. When Patrick Mahomes has a bad game, it's not really a bad game. It's just not great.
Yes.
But the Darnolds and the Mayfields, when they're bad, they tend to be pretty bad.
Why are you not buying my philosophy of their philosophy has changed? Their leading receiver is Kareem Hunt.
I am.
Like Beckham's not going to get those numbers.
I am not dismissing. No, what you're saying, I want more analysis than that.
Okay, sorry.
But yours, I'm sorry that you didn't get enough credit for your analysis.
I feel like I nailed it.
Stugotz, you have some of the worst Browns analysis I have ever heard. Their
Really?
leading receiver is Kareem Hunt because Odell missed the first 2 games.
Right.
Jarvis has missed the last 2 games. They spread the ball around. They're tight end dependent. It's a total coincidence that Kareem Hunt is the leading receiver right now.
And the offense has changed. They're running
Stugotz,
the football.
but what I would like,
the offense was the offense last year.
But how is that bad analysis?
No,
I mean, I'm
but-
the guy who told you Baker doesn't need to be great.
No,
for
that
them
was
to be
there
great.
last year.
he's objecting to your bad analysis of you just got done saying he stinks was your analysis, and you've been saying for 10 games, Mike, you've got a good quarterback.
Well, now Mike's got a good team.
but
I'm not certain about the quarterback.
But this is the part he's objecting to is where you're even somehow lazier than Greg Cody's analysis.
I gave you good analysis.
The only thing worse than your Browns analysis is your Georgia analysis. You keep saying they beat Clemson. Who's Clemson? They didn't just beat Clemson.
Yeah.
They thoroughly dominated Clemson.
They're mauling everybody. Georgia is clearly
with the quarterback like Stetson Bennett is a decent quarterback for them. Did you see what Arkansas did yesterday? It wasn't just don't say Arkansas was bad. I think seven of their series, and they might have had 11, ended in 3 and out. They got thoroughly dominated.
Have you seen something? I don't know what this is called exactly because I'm not surprisingly, I'm not a farm person. But whatever it is that mows down wheat that moves as a vehicle through a cornfield.
Right. Harvester.
Is that what it's called?
I think.
That is the Georgia front 7 is that, and then their corners are also and their defensive backs are big and fast. It felt like a machine. Arkansas out physicals you. You want to talk about whether Urban Meyer can make your team tougher? We were talking for 3 weeks about Arkansas will womp you. All they do is womp. They're not even there to win or lose. They're just there to get into a physical fight. And it looked like they were thrown into a harvester.
Stugotz keeps saying they played Clemson, and Clemson is not good. That offense is no good.
They're not.
And they played Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's obviously no good. When they played Clemson, Clemson rushed 23 times. They had 2 total yards. I don't care if Clemson is a really bad Power 5 team. You hold a team to 2 yards rushing on 23 attempts, you're friggin' dominant.
Okay, and you have no idea if Georgia's good, nor does anyone until
Shut
they
up.
play
Yes, I do.
Alabama.
Yes, I do. I know Georgia's good.
That is the
I
barometer.
know Georgia's good.
Play Alabama, and I'll
And
let
if
you
they
know
lose
after
to
the game
Alabama,
if they're
someone
any
Alabama's
good.
also very good.
So
really good.
So no quarterback can be good unless he's Mahomes, and no team can be good unless they're Alabama. That's where we are in your analysis.
They won that
Pretty
game.
much,
Yeah, I agree.
They won that
Thank
game
you.
10-3, and you're holding it against them. They won that game essentially with their backup quarterback because JT Daniels isn't starting for them anymore.
Can we circle back to the conversation we were having? Because I do think it's an interesting angle to look at the Urban Meyer thing is people launch their jokes all over the place, and he'll be gone, and we'll do this with the next one. There will be some CEO of the future. This machine is a bit of a harvester. You may see that at ESPN now. Mike Greenberg is the host of the big NBA show, and Rachel Nichols has been tossed to the side, and Maria Taylor no longer works there. And after the summer of George Floyd and everything that happened at ESPN, the problem that Rachel Nichols was complaining about on a private tape, Stugotz, whatever it was, the power, everything is realigned, and soon Peyton and Eli will be back on your ESPN Plus streaming. as the guys who get the commercials and the broadcasting jobs, the last white power position jobs in those sports, the leaders of men. The Jason Witten is getting a job in the big, the big booth, Jason Witten, because we're going to give all those jobs to the white Cowboys. And Michael Irvin can have some jobs too, but not those jobs, not the jobs that speak in partnership on behalf of the league with their big billion-dollar partners. Warren Sapp and Michael Irvin can work over there as part of the NFL network doing their Miami dances. But the big jobs, the Papa John's commercials, until recently, Papa John's got a problem on his hands, so now it's Shaq.
Yep.
Papa John's Papa John said, oh, okay, I got to figure, the whole Papa John's thing is we go white quarterback, and then Papa John's himself uses the N-word, and now Shaq's in the commercials.
Did you see how he tricked his employees?
What a disguise.
They didn't know it was him.
Yeah, it was great.
And then he took it out. It was like Undercover Boss, but a commercial.
How's that possible?
It's not possible.
Stugotz. Here's the useless sound montage.
Disappointing outcome, but it's nothing mystical about it.
When you have a guy like Terry, you want to give him a shot to make a play. He makes plays days in, day out.
Part of being able to do this the right way is being able to handle the ebbs and flows.
Just tough, always to dig yourself out of a hole.
Everybody wanted to make this all up about Brady and Belichick. I don't think Bill played a snap.
It's the NFL. Our guys good, their guys good. But our guys just won about it today.
Our guys are wired the right way.
We're this close, and that's something that I believe. Continue to learn. Continue to be 1% better every day.
That's what it is, and that's what it's going to be the rest of the year.
You got to keep enjoying this game. At the end of the day, it's a game.
We're all collectively in our circumstance together. We got to continually get better. Those are our intentions.
It's all about communication with the coaches, the players, everybody, just to find ways to fix the issue, and we have to first identify the issue.
It was good to have a cheesesteak and a lot of other things, so it's good to be back.
Certainly a frustrating loss. Didn't put enough points on the board.
Obviously left some plays on the field.
We left some meat on the bone to say. We left some plays out there.
And this is what I'm going to say. You got every opportunity to learn, right? Every opportunity, everything that you do, you learn from it.
Our guys had great juice.
I can't tell you how fun it is to come to work on a daily basis when you have those types of guys in the building.
Everybody's saying this was a quarterback and a coach. This is a team sport. The Bucs won this game, all right? And we beat the Patriots.
I think it's a lack of focus, a lack of concentration, a lack of attention to detail. I think it's all those things. And that starts with me.
It starts with me, and it goes to my coaches.
We just played bad football today, and that starts with the head coach.
Green Bay, they played winning football, and we did not.
We got to do more, got to do better.
Big week for him, but it was a bigger week for the team.
It was tough sledding. That's a whole different animal.
Feels like you got the monkey off your back.
No monkey on my back. I just go play, like I said. The past is the past, but we don't live in the past, so it is what it is.
Thinking about losing 3 in a row, thinking about losing 1, thinking about losing 2, I just don't think about it. It's not in my repertoire. It's not in my thought process, to be honest with you. I don't think about it. I just think about winning.
Right now, we're just a little bit off, and I'll look in the mirror and start pointing the thumb at me.
Really just start to really take it one play at a time and repeat that cycle over and over again.
We had a splash play in the special teams to no avail.
Splash.
What were some of the things you guys did to maybe try to keep the Bucs guessing offensively?
What did we try? I don't understand the question.
We need more detail in our play, and the detail will provide the splash that we need for the significant plays.
Splash. We just got to find a way to stop it bleeding.
A win is a win. Ugly ones count just the same as the pretty ones do.
If you're not playing clean splash plays or chunks of real estate,
We can't ride this roller coaster every week.
More importantly, about not liking where we are, it's about what we do about it as we move forward, and we won't blink. We just need to continue to get better. We need more detail in our play, more understanding, and that'll produce the splash that'll get us out of
splash. Oh, my God. Billy was walking around the court like Steph Curry with 3 fingers held up for a while. I thought it was going to stop at 3. That's as confident as I've ever seen you, Billy. Yeah, you knew you had the audience. You were spinning it on your finger because you just hit him with splash after splash, a fireworks show.
Splash. Splash.
5 of them. A record.
Splash. Splash.
Virtuoso
Splash.
performance from Tomlin.
Yes.
And Billy, too. What a poker face. You had 5 splashes.
And we got out of the stadium and we
Splash.
didn't blink.
And there were intentions.
Oh, my God, Billy. A masterpiece by you.
I couldn't have come sooner. Dan was just saying how he didn't like the segment anymore. Maybe we'll get rid of it. And then we get 5 splashes.
Well, this is the thing. It's music. It's art.
Splash.
How about Andy Reid, fresh out of the hospital, looking forward to a cheesesteak?
Just perfect.
Yes.
That one made me laugh too. You just hear his voice and he's like, I ate a cheesecake and a whole bunch of other things. Cheesesteak and a bunch of other things. It was great. Let me ask you this, Billy. Were you at all disappointed the way I was again and again after the soap opera drama storyline of what Bucks Pats was for Bruce Arians at 69 years old to not be tired of lecturing us about we're the Bucks and we win as a team. They're the Pats. They're the Patriots, as if he was making some sort of good point on team play.
He did not want to give any. He hates Tom Brady. I'm just going to say it. Bruce Arians hates Tom Brady for some reason. He does not want to give him anything. Last season, remember, there was things where he was pushing back on him. Here, it was his big day, his return. He simply would not give it to him. So 3 different times.
So Arians he's got a tough love, Tom Brady, because he hasn't, and speaking of the coaching conversation that we're having, Tom Brady hasn't earned it enough to a little praise from his dried up daddy of a coach. He's got to talk about team this game. Like, he thinks that got the number it did because of the Bucks team, because of the Dirk Cutter years.
Right.
Well, Dan, Bill Belichick didn't play a single down. He told us that.
Right. I wish he had. That would have been great to see.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Right.
One play, your victory, Tom Brady. In this, like, it's not enough that you're the only guy to ever win a Super Bowl in the home city of Tampa Bay.
Right.
You win in every way, but as your prize at the end of this emotional week, 1 week we're going to put Belichick out there on the field.
Where do you think he plays?
Where are you putting him?
I like him at defensive end, getting just pancaked by the right tackle.
So you have hot, and then you've got Belichick trying to run off the field, but Brady's calling one play, and what's the play he's calling? It's just trample Belichick.
Yeah, pretty
correct?
much. Exactly. Right.
Run to the right.
We're going to put Ndamukong Suh on offense. We're going to put all our big guys and just chase Belichick down. I bet you Suh can get there faster than the genius leader.
Right. Trample him, and then we'll take a taunting penalty on top of that.
Yes.
That's no problem.
So no problem. Okay, so Wellington Mora can give us a 15-yard taunting penalty.
Correct.
How much would you pay to see that if I gave you that as the prize at the end of the highest rated game? Isn't that what Squid Game is about? Isn't Netflix's most popular show around something like that in premise? None of you watching that?
Have you guys seen the most recent scandal in Big Ten football? I thought of Billy when I saw this. There is legitimate beef Wellington between Mel Tucker and Greg Schiano.
No.
Yes.
What?
And at the heart of it is Mel Tucker has started using "keep chopping" as a mantra for Michigan State. And a quote from Greg Schiano.
Is he going to say he invented that?
Well, you have to keep in mind, Greg Schiano did coach on a staff with Chuck Pagano at one point. So maybe this was like...
You wanted Schiano a week ago. He got dusted by 50 points. You said you wanted the motherless prick at the University of Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, I want the motherless prick. And again, not a character assassination on Greg Schiano. There's just a classification of coaches that I call motherless pricks.
He bet on all of them this weekend. Yeah. Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, king of all the motherless pricks.
Yeah, one huge flaw in betting on Lane Kiffin as my motherless prick of the week was that Nick Saban is like patient zero motherless prick.
Exactly.
So, but Greg Schiano says, we've been doing keep chopping since 2005. That's become much more than a word in this program. Also, Greg, it's 2 words.
It is 2 words.
Yes.
It is. We are the Lobos.
Yes, 3 words. Thank you.
I would like to understand what is a great conundrum. Bill Simmons has been doing this for a long time, the Ewing theory. He invented the Ewing theory. It's better than chopping wood. And the Knicks sometimes appeared to be better when Ewing wasn't there, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so Odell Beckham and the Browns, when he plays with Baker Mayfield, it doesn't look right. It isn't statistically right. And so Jake Burns is here with us. He does a podcast, the OBR, and it's breaking down film, and there's going to be some real expertise here. So I have wanted a genuine answer to this question, Jake, and thank you. Like, what's happening there? Is that real? Do they have a problem between Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham that it just doesn't work between them two in a game that requires timing, precision, and chemistry?
Yeah, there's a problem both what your eyes are showing you and the data, right? Like the Pro Football Focus folks do a great job with quarterback play metric stuff, I think. And Odell on the field, Baker's a 68 career grade as a passer. Off the field, he's a 90 career grade as a passer. So the data kind of matches up with the eyes. And with the two on the field, I need to kind of be very clear here. And I think that Odell Beckham is still a very good wide receiver. He creates really nice levels of separation. And there's no better game to go watch to gauge whether that guy is back from the knee injury. He was open several times against the Vikings for big plays, touchdown-worthy plays. For some reason, there is a disconnect, and it's hard to sort of quantify the disconnect, but it is, to me, it's sort of easy to explain when you really think about quarterback play. For Baker Mayfield, he has always been, dating back to Oklahoma and his early Browns portions of his career, a very read-driven quarterback. If he's concerned about the other guy at the end of the read, I need to get the ball to Odell. I need to find him here, there, whatever. I missed him on this play. Maybe I need to then look at him where I need him to, where I need him to be is different play to play. So if he's missing him, part of Baker's idea is I need to force it to him on this play. And with Baker, if he's worried about who's on the other side of a read instead of just doing getting his eyes where they need to be, then it can be a problem. And I think what happens is he lingers on Odell when he shouldn't linger on him. And then when he gets back to thinking about, I need to do the things I need to do, I need to find the right read, he's missing Odell when he's open. So they're not meshing in that sense. And two, it should be noted that Baker's not a big guy. He's a smaller quarterback. And as Drew Brees, the smart guys who have been really successful at this stuff for a long time, they'll talk about passing windows. You got to find passing windows because you can't see over the offensive line. And a lot of what Odell does is harder for Baker to see. Double moves, routes that end up pushing him into difficult portions of the field for a quarterback of Baker's stature to see. And that leads to him missing him sometimes. Now, I think it's gotten to the point where we all publicly know where this disconnect is happening. It's not a secret. The two aren't playing well together. And Sunday, you could see it written all over Baker's body. He's trying to get him the ball. I think they targeted him 9 times. They're trying to get him the football. And when he's open, say the perfect thing. If you go back and watch the game, on the last drive, the Browns are 3rd and 5. Have to get this first down, the game's over. They run a perfect post wheel combination. They get Odell matched up in the slot on Harrison Smith, a good safety by every regard, but not fleet of foot in his 30s anymore. They run a wheel route. He's wide open. Baker could have put the ball to the moon, lofted it, landed it right in his hands. It's a touchdown to end the game. Instead, he tries to rifle it in there to get it to him quickly, and it's behind him. I think he's just feeling this pressure to get Odell the ball, and the pressure is causing him to not go through the process of playing quarterback the right way in a very timing-based Kevin Stefanski system. And it's leading to just a quarterback who's trying to force a guy the football, and it's just not working. So I don't know if that's the perfect film analysis way to break it down, but you can see the pressure written on Baker's face to try to get him the football. And when he's trying to get him the football, it's the wrong time. When he's trying to go through the reads, it's not working out either because he's missing Odell. So it's just not meshing.
Stugotz, this is so interesting inside the weeds and the art of what this is, because you know the rate of speed all of this is moving around you. And we're all looking at it and we're like, why can't you just get it to Odell? And you see, how these Watts and these Boses are coming around the corner and they're going to club the football out of your hands. And what he's telling you, we haven't talked about his height since the very beginning, is he can't see him. He can't see. We can see from where we're sitting, Odell Beckham. Oh, he's wide open, but he's dropping back to pass and forcing it to a guy mechanically that he's telling you some of the time he doesn't see. It must be very difficult to play the game back there when you can't do it more artistically than that. Naturally, just flowing within the game because you're forcing it to the one guy that is good, is probably open, but you can't see it.
Especially when that player is a bit of an artist out there and does certain things to help get himself open and is not necessarily ending up at the spot that Baker would assume he is because you can't see him.
What happened on that last play, though? That one didn't make that from where I was sitting, where we all were sitting. No, the game has gotten too precise for that. That's an easy touchdown. How is that not an easy touchdown between Baker Mayfield, who was 80% completion rate first 2 weeks on long passes, and he's wide open? And Odell Beckham is clearly great, and he just told you, safety, not fleet of foot. How? Did he not see him? On that play, he's got to see him. If he can't see him out there, when the hell is he going to see him?
Listen, I think I don't want to go over the top with not seeing him. I think there are some times where there's some route concepts that Odell's really good at that Baker doesn't quite progress the way that some bigger quarterbacks can see them, like Josh Allen does with Stephon Diggs sometimes. I don't think Baker's height's a detriment, so I'm really trying to be careful there. But what I do think is there's sometimes that progressions he doesn't find Odell, and then the next time, if you go back and watch, and I'm sure, Mike, you can attest to this, that 3rd down and 2 where he decided not to throw the ball to Demetric Felton in the flat. It's 3rd and 2, you got him wide open, and he's lingering on this bench route to Odell in the deep portion of the field, and it's like, why are you just not going with the first down throw right in front of your face? He ends up taking a sack. It made the rounds on social media. He actually did find him okay on Sunday, but he's just missing him. Like, he had a touchdown ball that he could have thrown to him on a little out and up early in the game where he had 2 steps on the corner, but the ball was so far behind him, it hit the corner who was trailing him in the back of the helmet. So I just feel like there's a lot of pressure for these two to get it right, and Baker is just not meeting his end of the bargain. You got to trust me on this. Odell is playing 2 weeks back from an ACL, is playing really well. He's separating, and he could have gone for 200 yards, but Baker's just missing him. So I don't know if there's a next level analysis to this. I think there's something in the back of a quarterback's mind, like Baker, who has never quite played with a wide receiver as dynamic as 13 is. I need to get him the football as many times as I can get him the football. And if I miss an opportunity to get him the football, I'm going to try to make up for that on the next one. And maybe he's bracketed on the next one and he lingers on it a little bit too long. And then somebody else is open that he misses. And then it's a whole downhill slide in terms of staying in front of the sticks and picking up first down. So I don't know. Is it fixable? Yeah, I think they can get it right. And I don't think Baker's going to go 0 for 7 on 20+ yard downfield passes every week. But there's definitely there's a disconnect with the eyes and the data from people who do this stuff at Pro Football Focus for a living. They're saying the same things too. So it's a data issue and a film issue. And it's like the biggest challenge for Kevin Stefanski and offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt is how do we get these two guys to connect? Because if they can get those two guys to connect, you're genuinely, between the defense talent in Cleveland, looking at a real Super Bowl contender, but they got to find a way to get Baker to get on the right page with Odell.
But if you're a data issue and a film issue, then you're an issue. Like if you just said, okay, this is so, and now solve it.
Well, Jake is outlining a bunch of problems that don't necessarily seem correctable. Like Baker's not necessarily going to grow, but he also said there's a solution for it. I'm curious if the solution is Baker's kind of feeling pressure a little bit early right now because of how unsettled the left tackle position in particular has been. Is he getting rid of the ball a little too soon? And that might help explain why he's sailing some of these balls over the top to Odell.
Perhaps there's definitely a jitteriness to the way he approaches the position right now. I think that Baker has never been in his career a guy who feels really settled amongst chaos. You talk about the best quarterbacks in the league are comfortable when chaos is happening around him. He's not that guy. He's never been that guy. That doesn't mean he can't hit the schemed up throws, but how many times can an offensive coordinator, play caller, or head coach like Kevin Stefanski call perfectly schemed up throws? So there's definitely some things with Baker that you're going to have to work through for him to ever be a next level guy. He's got to get comfortable making plays out of structure, things like that. To me, it's just, he's just missing the schemed up throws right now. And if you're missing the schemed up throws to guys like Odell, and you're not really an out of structure savant the way some of the other best in the league, the Mahomes, those types of Russell Wilson types, then you're in a pit of struggle. And right now that's where he's at. He's not hitting the easier throws. Then you're going to be even in a bigger boat of struggle when you start getting guys that pressure you like the Everson Griffins and Danielle Hunters and now the Bosas of the world. So he's just got to settle in, try to calm himself down, stop worrying about forcing the ball to 13. And not that he is. Like, I think he was throwing to him in the right scenarios, but just try to relax and do the things that you've done your whole life dating back to Oklahoma and the places he's been before. Because if it continues to slide, which we don't want it to, if it continues to slide the way it is, there are going to have to be tough decisions made.
A lot of blah, blah of like trade him or don't trade him from the data guy, where his analysis is the same as Cody's, which is he's got to get to the next level. Stop feeling pressure. Easy for you to say. Are you not watching what's happening in the backfields of those sports? Like, yeah. Stop feeling pressure. All right.
He's got Joey Bosa, Chandler Jones.
Stop feeling pressure. Great advice. bearded data film guy.
Wouldn't they be better off without the pressure? Like that pressure to get Odell the ball. Wouldn't Baker be better off without that pressure? I mean, and the team?
I mean, yeah, you would, yeah, you would think that it would help, but
Jake,
also like
trade him. Jake, trade him. I want
I'm
you.
not saying that.
Jake, trade him.
Get a
Look,
taller
Jake,
quarterback.
Jake, I understand.
We
Jake,
can't trade the best
you
quarterback we've ever
are
had.
you
Mike
are a
Lennon.
data guy, a science guy. We brought you on for your expertise. Greg Cody's analysis was Baker's inconsistent, and Stugotz just laid a bunch of rabbit turds all over the show. Trade him or don't trade him. I'm tired of all this. The routes, the pressure. He can't see him.
It's not working. It's not working. That's what we know right now. We have no evidence to the contrary.
It's not
so either
going
Baker
to work. It's not going to work. Data issues and film
Why are you
issues.
trying to shock jock the analyst?
Give him elevator shoes.
Jake, thank you for being on with us. Is there anything else here that you want to give us that would be illuminating? I was just fooling around. I'm joking.
No, we've covered it all. There's not a great answer to this conundrum. There really isn't, other than just the quarterback has to be better. And if he's better, then they'll start connecting. If he's not better, then we're going to keep having these conversations throughout the next few weeks.
Greg said that an hour ago.
That's right, Jake. It's true. You took 12 minutes to say the same thing that Greg did.
At least I tried with offensive philosophy.
I mean, you can trade him to make him better.
That's why they pay me no money. So there we go.
He's very busy here because there's some hearings today, but the story of the day yesterday was the internet going down and the world's addiction to social media. We all started itching, and there's all sorts of nefarious stuff going on in the shadows with social media, and Zuckerberg lost a reported $7 billion yesterday because if Facebook goes down, it's like $222,000 a minute. So Terry Collins, USA Today Money and Tech reporter, joining us to discuss everything that's going on there. And this is about the whistleblower, I'm assuming. They're the hearings in progress, and you've been in the business for more than 20 years, Associated Press, CNET, Fortune, Huffington Post. Help us understand, please, Terry. I know you're pressed for time, and thank you for being here. What's happening here?
Where do you want to start? You want to start with the hearing, or you want to start with the outage?
I want to start with everything that happened yesterday and how it might be tied to a whistleblower hearing, because people might think that a whistleblower is going to reveal that there's all sorts of Facebook and Instagram things that manipulate young girls. And what's been happening is we've been being controlled by this thing that has, it's got us all addicted.
Yeah, well, great admission, Dan, that we are all sort of kind of like addicted to Facebook and the other platforms, because it's just been interwoven into our lives, for the better part of more than a decade. So right around this time yesterday, I guess most of us started noticing, as we would want to go to Facebook and Instagram and notice that there was a problem, that it went down. And myself, and others, we went to like this known site called downdetector.com to see, and sure enough, it was down. It was down. And it was still down, and it was down for hours, and Facebook had said that the root cause of the outage was a faulty configuration change, which basically means that servers were down for a long time. It's it was just, we couldn't get a connection, and they couldn't get a connection, and so it was I guess for those who depend on it and rely upon on the platform to communicate, to do business. It was a rough and tough day.
WhatsApp
stock went down.
WhatsApp also went down. So can you help us understand? Because I don't know if there's anything conspiratorial here. I'm not meaning to espouse conspiracy theories, but there are hearings in progress because a whistleblower was on 60 Minutes, and the stocks are tumbling. And so I'd just like to better understand what's happening with these hearings and what's happening right now with social media, because it seems like you're at the center of a fight on a changing landscape, that you're in the middle of covering something that's a bit historic here because the foundation of these things is shaking.
Yeah. And, the irony of this, the outage happened, kind of like a day after this former Facebook product manager, Francis Haugen, who is testifying right now before a Senate committee, said that that Facebook is putting profit above user safety, and that's kind of like a core that I think many of us have been writing about. We've heard politicians, we've heard groups saying that Facebook does a lot of harm to users, particularly many of its young users, with some of its content that could be harmful. He said that it has a devastating, potentially have devastating impact for some users, and for the good and the bad, it's a huge loss. I mean, Facebook has nearly 3 billion users. So it has an effect on all of us in a lot of ways, and more so, I guess, than what we cared to realize until yesterday. The ability to not be on Facebook to communicate, and Instagram to see your photos, to like things. So, and business losing probably billions of dollars, who do business because some have had to pivot on these platforms due mostly in part to the pandemic because they're not getting the foot traffic and such. So, in some ways, it's devastating. And now compounded with this, we have, Haugen, testifying before the Senate saying that, Facebook has made some disastrous choices, and now all this stuff is coming out and fruit to bear. What we thought we heard, now we're kind of seeing that there is some stuff, then some.
Can you tell us what you found most interesting about the 60 Minutes interviewer with the whistleblower?
I think just her pure candor and being just very unapologetic that there's problems at Facebook and realizing. I mean, personally, she's been at other tech companies, but for the most part, blowing a whistle and coming out and stuff like this, it could be damaging to her reputation. I mean, she probably may or may not ever get another job in the tech sector, which is highly competitive. And I'm sure whatever she realized and saw that there was these problems and these issues, made her, I guess, have the conviction to just say, I'm going to say something, and I can prove it. I have documents, and I'm going to share them with others, and I don't care at what cost it comes. It's kind of courageous and yet scary all at the same time, probably on her end.
What are
and I think? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What are the most damning accusations we might see?
I think her bluntness in saying that to a degree, Facebook may not care about its users as much as they say they do. I think she might go so far as to say that, from what we've seen in the testimony, which like now you're seeing it, her saying that Facebook hides most of its own data, that's pretty damning, because I have colleagues myself and others, we ask Facebook for data and information, and we'd hope that they would be transparent enough to give it to us, of what they can, or what they want to. But for someone who is on the inside to say that this is what they're doing and other, I guess, deceptive things in order to make profits, according to her, is that's pretty damning. And can you imagine what Facebook is trying to put together in its defense? This is stuff that, like I said, that myself, others, politicians especially, who are looking to regulate Facebook and other social media platforms, this is probably what they've been wanting to hear. They're probably salivating, and right now you can see in the hearing that they're trying to ask as many questions as they can and trying to get as much out of her in a very clear and concise way as possible. So that's going to be the challenge for the Senate committee here, as to how much they can get out of her under oath.
Can you explain to the audience what the dangers are of an entity keeping all the data to itself? When you say, because you saying, I can imagine the audience saying, when you say the most damning accusation is Facebook doesn't care about its customer as much as it pretends to, which feels, naive, right? By itself. Of course, commerce, the corporation doesn't care about, that's one thing. That's not going to tumble a company $7 billion a day. It's got to be worse than that.
There is. I guess, as Haugen has testified, damaging effects, especially for, say, one example she used was for young women who, teenagers who, look at Facebook and some of the other platforms and look at the images, that could be on there. Say like Instagram, for example. And, there's a certain, quote, maybe look that these young ladies may aspire to and may feel like that they can't, and so that could have harming effects on their psyche.
It's how to manipulate an entire culture of young women, correct? That's one. That's one, and you could say young people and even adults, in terms of using things, I guess, that would keep you coming back, to the platforms. Stay on the platforms. Stay on the platforms.
Terry,
go ahead.
Terry, was it a suspicion at first that Facebook might have been hacked, and has that been ruled out?
Yeah, there of course there is. Highly suspicious. It's almost one of the first things you think about, especially as we go into like hour 1, hour 2. And given Facebook being in the news for say like the past couple of weeks, it announced that they were going to pause Instagram for Kids, which had drawn the scorn of politicians, groups like Common Sense for Kids, Media, Fair Play, which looks at monitors these kind of things with Facebook and the effect it has on kids. So this was just kind of the article, the articles that came out that Haugen leaked to the Wall Street Journal and other publications picked up and noticing a pattern of Facebook having this being, I guess, in her eyes, deceitful. This is all a buildup, to like bad for Facebook, and then we have this sudden outage, and then this outage occurs, and so after if it's not resolved in an hour, 2 hours, you're starting to think, okay, well, what's the problem? What's the cause? Facebook saying they know what the cause is. To like, of course, you're going to think like, well, man, maybe someone was, kind of just wanted to take the system down or whatever, possible hacking. And as I said, this morning, Facebook reiterated, sent an email to us saying that, there was no malicious activity. But then again, I had an expert who told me off the record yesterday, if Facebook did get hacked or, disrupted, compromised, do you think they'd really say something? So you start thinking about that as well, and because Haugen is saying, what is the truth? And that's what politicians are saying, and other advocates and those who have been questioning Facebook for years. What's the truth?
Terry, you were very gentle about it, and what's the truth is a simple, complicated question. But because you're objective, I still feel the need to ask you and badger you and agitate you. Is Zuckerberg an evil monster? I know that I know because no, you've been very fair and you're a journalist and you're objective, and thank you guys. No comment. Don't just hold on a second. I want to hold you get to ask the questions all the time of everybody. I want to question you for a minute. I want to see if there's an opinion somewhere in there as you gather facts and you fight this with facts and objectivity for USA Today. Is Zuckerberg an evil? Is Zuckerberg an evil monster? Terry, I need it's a yes or no question. Thanks for asking, Dan. Thanks for asking. I don't need elaboration. It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question. Terry.
Thanks for asking. Facebook is in a bit of trouble right now. I think there's no denying that. And they probably have been for years, and now it's just all like coming to the surface. I'd say no entity is perfect, but with such influence and power and scale that it has, the scrutiny is going to come, and it's going to come heavy. Whether it's deserved or not, I think it's up to individuals to decide. And for those who use the product, for whatever reason, I think it's up to them to decide if they want to continue using, a Facebook, or Instagram, or WhatsApp. What's the reliance on it? What's the dependency on it? When you think about, I guess, the outage yesterday, myself, of course, I'm covering, my colleagues and others about what's happening. But say, for instance, what did you guys do yesterday during that 6 hours without it? Which I'm sure you have to rely on in some capacity.
I'm on Twitter and TikTok.
I'm on neither Facebook nor Instagram, but I imagine that Jessica started itching her neck and then immediately found other places to feed her stimuli addiction.
But it sounded like a yes to me.
Yeah, certainly.
yeah.
You called him
It
a
was not a yes. It was not a yes or
no.
But a weird thread in today's show of me trying to bully very nice human beings who do their job well in their area of expertise. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for the information.
Boy, Dan,
though.
you got a little loose, man. After you've left, the mothership.
There you
Jeez.
go. That's right. That's right. See that? Be
and
free.
Stu, you're just like egging them on. And
Terry,
whatnot.
be free. It's so much better. Yeah. You're going to lose the fight against Facebook with your objectivity, Terry. It does not regard your objectivity. It does not care about your objectivity and your journalism. It is.
And what about, let me ask you this. What about, that shit from Facebook. You jump back on it. What about your Dolphins? What's up?
Oh, wow.
Anyone want this account, Whittingham?
Did I get him?
Did I
get him? Did I get him? Terry, thank you. Yes,
bully
you crushed
got
me. Oh,
bullied.
I'm so hurt. Tua's ribs don't work right. You got me, Terry.